Okay,
Is
guys,
that me?
are we ready to get started?
Hey,
Yes, we need some more people.
everybody.
Get some
Welcome
more
to
people.
the ADHD Rise
Yes.
event. Guess what? I took my medications after 2 days, and guess who did not sleep a freaking wink last night? That's me. Not a wink. I don't even know what happened. I was at
I
an event
do.
last night too, but I think I don't know. I don't know if you guys get this way. I was just talking to somebody about this. How you get like hyper stimulated around crowds, or I don't know. I don't know if that's like an ADHD thing. I think it is. I don't know what I'm talking about. Um, but yeah, and then like I can't sleep. I swear I can't sleep after being around like a big event or a lot of people and a really cool situation. So that's where we're at. I'm currently lifting weights, trying to relieve some whatever I've got going on in here, and we're going to be talking about relationships. You guys are
Oh,
excited?
yeah.
I want to say hi to Samuel and Viva. And there must be some, I don't know what's going on, but we don't know where everyone's at today, but they are going to come in here as soon as they hear how much fun we're having, because this is ADHD Rise Relationships Panel. And the women who are up here today, let me tell you about these powerhouse women. We have got Belinda, the ferocious, amazing sex kitten. No, I'm just kidding. She's amazing, but she is probably a sex kitten. I don't know. But she's amazing. She does not hold back when she comes to her relationships. She is all about, sharing her heart, sharing the beautiful things. We've got my girl Summer, who's been in a very, you know, today, what I say is healthy, and I know it's a bumpy road to get to a place where you're in the same pace. She's in a long-term marriage where, they've gone through their stuff and they seem to have worked out the kinks, and they're very happy, and they have, a good relationship. I'll let her share the details if she'd like. And then we have Chris, who has a very colorful background when it comes to relationships and the experience she has. And so for those of you who don't know her, she is the ADHD relationships coach, and she has experience in all kinds of things. Nothing you can say will surprise her.
But also,
And she has
I'm a newlywed and I'm monogamous now and I'm married and I have a lot. You can't surprise me, but also
that's
I have a
amazing.
successful relationship.
Yes. And for people who are looking for that, because you get to be that prime example. People who are looking for that, like, we've all got baggage when we come into relationships. Let's be honest, we've all got baggage. Yes, we do. And sometimes when we're about to get into like a serious relationship or commit, like, I'm not gonna lie, before I got married to my husband, I literally went through like some of the craziest stuff in my life when it came to, just stuff that came up. So it's always helpful to have someone to kind of navigate those waters with. And then we have Sarah, who is the spouse of an ADHD human being person. So we have a whole great panel. And myself.
Hello.
Hi. And myself, I'm Val. I don't know what I am. I'm very confused. So I will just be here listening and working out. So I love you guys, and let's get this started. We are in the ADHD Rise room. So if you guys want to have more information about this, I think most of you guys are signed up, but please hop over to ADHDrise.com, get all the juicy details, and feel free to come up if you have any questions about relationships, about anything that these ladies are talking about. We would love for you to come up. If you do not feel comfortable talking or asking your question, feel free to message any one of us, except if you guys are not available, can you flash your mic real quick? Okay, just want to make sure no one's like at work or needing to not be distracted. So go ahead and message any one of us and we will get your question answered, because we know that some of these questions can be uncomfortable, or maybe you don't want to come up and ask. So with that, Summer, you got anything?
Yeah, Val. So one thing I wanted to add is that Belinda and I actually have very similar. They kicked her out again. It's okay. She's a little sex kitten, apparently. So, yes. So Belinda and I actually have. You're
It's
back.
doing it to me again. It's
There
like
she is.
every
I
Friday.
know.
It's
Oh,
Freaking
I know.
Friday.
That's so funny. We both are been married for 20 years, right, Belinda?
Yes, with them 20
Yes.
years. Married, yeah, I think I want to say 16, 17, and together 20. Yeah,
Yeah.
a
So
long haul.
Yes, a long haul. So we have talked and messaged a bunch before, and our husbands are both very neurotypical. So that's one of the things that, and Sarah can probably chime in on the other half of this, but it's been a very interesting journey for me. I was young when I got married. Probably the first 10 years of my marriage, I didn't really see my husband very much. So he was in school for a long time, and he is about as neurotypical as you could possibly imagine. And so at that time, I hadn't really been dealing with my ADHD, and it was a little bit of a struggle. I still had a lot of the I don't know, fear of being misunderstood. The rejection sensitivity dysphoria was like super real.
I wanted to clarify that ADHD, is that like attention deficit? Just wanted to like.
Yeah, it's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Okay, cool. I have that, so yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So like now everything they call ADHD. So there's like three kinds. There's the hyperactive, the inattentive, and then combined. So like in the DSM, which is like the Bible for all doctors and medical conditions, that they define it just as ADHD now. The name is an absolute misnomer, and it should not be that. They're looking into new names. I think Dr. Hollowell's got our backs on that. So yeah. So was that your only question?
I have to
um,
say, I was so confused. Oh, is that Gray talking? Who is that
yeah,
talking?
this is great. Sorry.
Oh, that is so weird. For some reason, I thought Jocelyn was talking and I was so confused. I'm like, who is in Jocelyn's account? I don't know. I don't know what's just happening.
Jocelyn is
Okay,
a
go ahead, Gray. I'm
male.
sorry. I was so confused.
She's a
Okay.
male kitty. She's a male voice, but she has a kitty.
And
I
welcome
like
to the ADHD
hoodies
room,
on.
Gray. Welcome to the
I like
room.
hoodies on animals. That's like if you put like a hoodie on a dog or like a cat, like it's so
It's so
yeah,
cute.
so cute. I was just gonna say, like, I have found that taking medication, like I take Adderall and take extended release. I used to take Vyvanse, and I found that Adderall was more effective for me. I don't have like really like an addictive personality or anything like that, so
Same.
yeah, so like I can like go like a month without taking it. Like the first couple days it's a little crappy, adjusting off of it, but I do find that it just overall improves my like productivity. So when I'm in a situation where I have to really perform, I take that just to focus. But I do notice like some of the side effects are like, for me at least, sometimes like hyper focus, where I'm like just so focused on what I'm doing or that one thing that it makes it difficult for me to be as sociable, and that has adversely affected just my relationships in general. For those who don't understand, I like when I meet someone new, I'm always like upfront, like, hey, if I'm a little weird, I want you to know that I I do take this thing called Adderall, and it is for my ADHD. I'm not just like taking it as drugs. Like it's something that
Whoa,
really
whoa, whoa!
helps.
Wait, just a second. Like probably everyone on the stage takes Adderall, and we know it's not for drugs. I take Adderall.
Yeah, but the
Every-
worst thing is when you share that with someone, they're like, "Oh my god, it's they'll I had someone
oh,
Google
Right. You deal with the meth.
amphetamines.
math.
Oh man, because
Oh yes, I
party.
totally, I totally get it. But yeah, definitely in these rooms, you will never have to explain yourself again
Oh,
because
thank
it's
you.
100%. Oh
Or
gosh, no.
It feels
apologize.
so good when people are like, "No, I got it. I get it." Like I'm like, "Okay, good."
I I
Oh
Uh,
think
yeah,
this
you're
begs the
totally fine.
question of like when is it appropriate to disclose your
I tell them
neurodiversity
Ooh.
and your
front. I
So,
literally had someone who I knew for years, and like I was actually crashing at his spot in LA because I live in Atlanta. So I was visiting him, like, oh, we went to college together, and he saw me like taking the Adderall. He's like, what is that? I'm like, oh, it's Adderall. He's like, oh my god. He's like, dude, you really start. I'm so glad that you take something. He's like, because I thought you were just like off a little bit. Like I thought like there was something wrong with you. Like like I thought there was some sort of imbalance. Like he literally like was so transparent about it. He's like, and I started to get a little nervous because you're crashing at my spot. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't know. It's like when you talk, sometimes I feel like you're really hyper. He's like, I'm just glad to see that there's a reason for this. And I was so offended. I didn't show it. I didn't say it, but I was like, wow, that's crazy that was your impression of me. And that you knowing that I took medication, like, made you feel more comfortable with me. Because I
It's
think there's behaviors that might not seem as natural while you're on the medication, like over talking or things like that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we get that for sure. And that's something, I mean, you should have heard me at the beginning of this room. I was like, I haven't slept, da da da. I haven't even taken my meds yet. Like, I'm nuts right now. Like, not really, but kind of. Like, I'm like, are the ADHD gremlins out? I don't know. But yeah, we would love to hear. Gigi, do you have any questions about relationships
real
that my
quick. If
lady can answer? Yes, go
Real
ahead.
quick, so it looks like she's on the phone anyway. So great. As you were talking and telling your story, like, number one, I really don't even know where I was going with my story. I'm not sure why that came out. I just texted Val and I'm like, what did I just say? It's like everything just came out. So, anyways, but to what you were talking about, Gray, it has to do with relationships because think about it. Like someone, I don't know if you were close to him, but someone that you knew was but not very well, it sounds like, was judging you a little bit because he saw you taking medication. So if we had like a relationship with this person, or if we knew them really well, maybe that would be different. But even like in our everyday relationships, think about it, like people that we talk to and we interact with, we have like this idea that we get just by looking at them or seeing like one thing. I don't know, does anyone like on the panel have any thoughts as far as that's concerned, like with
So,
people like that we know and see? Chris, are you
yeah,
available?
I would love to jump in on this as someone who
Yeah.
specifically works in the dating space, which there really isn't anyone there currently, and ADHD. Great. I totally get, and a lot of my clients are like, I'll just tell them everything on the first date so that they can leave, right? And I'm right there with you. I used to do the same thing, right? Like that you have to have an excuse for my weirdness or whatever. Every single person is weird in their own way. We are all mushy, mushy meat sacks, which is my new term I came up with yesterday in a room, which I love very much. And we are trying to get along with another mushy, mushy meat sack. All right? You do not need in the first date, first, second, third date, fourth date, you are just seeing if your mushy, mushy meat sacks jive. You can tell them whatever you want, but I want to give you permission. You do not need to tell them, you do not need to disclose your diagnosis to them. You do not need to disclose what medication you're on to them. You can just breathe, be yourself, and see if your mushy, mushy meat sack gets along with their mushy, mushy meat sack. Because because we've been like quote unquote different for so long, be like, oh no, what if they don't like me? What if you don't like them? You know how long it took me to ask myself that question? I'm not mad at you, I'm mad at me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just getting hyped because, like,
Your customer
just,
service voice changed, Chris.
oh,
Shifts in the
You
yeah.
went from
matrix.
mushy mushy meat sack to like, oh no, you didn't.
I know, because that's how, like, it didn't occur to me that I might not like them until I was deep in my 30s.
Oh my
And
God.
Gray, I don't know how old you are, but I want it today to be the last day that you don't consider whether or not you don't like them. Okay?
Love that you said that, and I think that has to do with like insecurities surrounding like the diagnosis. Um, like it can make a person just self-conscious in those social interactions, those social spaces. I think like this was someone who I knew to a decent degree. Like I said, we went to college together, and I'm in my late 20s, so like that was some years ago that we went to school together. But I just because I like I don't know, like I noticed myself over talking and things like that, and so I felt like, okay, let me just like share, like while I was taking my medication, I'm like, hey, like by the way, like I'm taking this for, ADHD, and he's like, wow, that makes you make a lot of sense. He was like, I started to get a little uncomfortable because like, you kind of talk a lot, and your personality is very like polarizing, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not usually like this. I'm not as lively um when I don't take Adderall. And then another story I want to share. My sister also has ADHD. She's married, and she went like this period of time where she didn't take Adderall whatsoever. She just went all natural, and her job started to get really stressful, and she started to notice like her life was kind of disorganized and stuff, and so she started back taking it. And her husband was like, I do not like your sister on this, like when she's on like Adderall. So she intentionally only takes it like half of the week or whatever. And doesn't take it on weekends at all. But he's like, she's a totally different person. I feel like I don't know her. She's so distant. She's like, you know, really closed off. And I'm like, wow, like this is someone who like they've been married for a year now. But I'm like, just imagine had she like talked to him when she was taking meds. Like, I wonder if they would have even matched. Like, it made me think like, how deep does this really affect like our personal interactions, and that kind of made me self conscious as well.
Yeah, I could totally relate to feeling self-conscious because it's like you were acting like yourself, but then someone made you feel like, oh, yourself made me uncomfortable. I could totally relate to that. Karina, I just wanted to recognize her because we were talking about talking really fast yesterday. And so when you were saying that, I was laughing because she was saying how people are like, what the heck when she talks really fast because she talks fast. So, okay, hi Gigi, how are you?
Hi, Summer. Hi, everybody. Belinda pinged me here, so yeah. Seems like a nice room. Well, like honestly, it is difficult being neurodivergent. And hey, are you speaking, Summer? And I'm having trouble hearing you. Are
Oh,
you
no, no,
speaking?
no, I think I forgot to mute my.
All right. So like being neurodivergent in a world that barely understands anything about neurodivergence or mental health conditions, it's just you feel a constant feeling of insecurity. Like when people judge you, you're a bit, like you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. If you tell them, they're gonna stigmatize you and put you in a box, and if you don't tell them, they're just gonna keep thinking you're weird. So it's a bit like that. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. But I believe like um sharing that you're not neurodivergent, at least for me, I feel like when I'm supposed to share, I share with someone who I consider a safe person, somebody who understands these stuff. Because I seem to be getting like when you tell somebody you're autistic or you have ADHD the first time you meet them, they are going to make their own they're just gonna start with their prejudice and their predisposed ideas about what ADHD is like and what autism is like, and they're gonna uh, basically dehumanize you in a sense. Like that's all that is to you with your neurodivergence. So I just wait a little bit, see if the person in front of me is safe and will understand, and then I feel like comfortable sharing. And sometimes I'm guilty of this, but I just do try to make the person kind of absolutely fall in love, secure them so that when I do tell them, they have no choice but to accept it and swallow it up, and then they change their opinions on neurodivergence and realize it's not what I thought it was. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I'm Gigi, I'm done.
Gigi,
Gigi, I
you're
have
a
a quick question for you.
minx. You're a minx.
Go ahead,
How
Gray. Do you have a question?
Yes, I'm sorry. I was
Oh,
going to
no, go
ask
ahead.
you, like, how do you, like, for you, how do you gauge if it's like, that person is, like, someone you feel comfortable, like, sharing that with, and, like, that there's that safe person as you deemed it? And then, secondly, like, do you feel um, like, like, you, like, basically proving how great a person you are is, like, overcompensating? And do you feel, does that ever feel, like, stressful in itself?
Ooh.
It does actually feel stressful that you have to prove yourself to be human to get some kind of decent human respect. It does feel stressful. But how do I gauge if the person is safe? Well, you know when a person is safe. So, for example, I'm doing my BA on psychology, and I have friends there in uni in the same class as me. These people have some form of awareness on these topics. So my close friend, for example, she's well read, well versed. She knows about neurodivergence. She knows about autism. She knows about ADHD and all these stuff. So when I sensed that she was well versed in this area and that she knows it's a normal variation and she wouldn't judge me for it, this is when I started sharing that I was neurodivergent. And honestly, she never judges me, and I feel so comfortable talking to her about anything. Another example is, usually I want to tell you that teachers in schools, like good teachers, usually have a love for neurodivergent students. So if you're an ASPE or like autistic with no learning disability, they love you. If you're ADHD with high IQ, they love you. But if you're ADHD with low learning skills or struggle with learning, they will love you still, because teachers kind of see everything in terms of potential, in terms of strengths. Good teachers, of course. So another person that was extremely safe for me is a guy who happens to be a professor of physics. This guy, he loves Sir Newton, he loves Sir Einstein, and he knows these people were neurodivergent. And he knows that brain differences are normal, and maybe that we autistic people are the future in a sense from an evolutionary perspective. So that guy felt safe for me to tell him I was autistic, and yeah, like you just kind of you kind of feel it. It's kind of rare, but you find people like that.
I love that. Thank you.
I
I
will
would love
say,
to jump. Oh, go ahead, Belinda.
no, go ahead.
Are you sure?
Of
I was
course.
gonna say I can totally speak from experience of this of ADHD, something different than ADHD, but I've been a recovering alcoholic for 10 and a half years. And let me tell you, I can identify with this thought that you have, Gray, like so much, because when I first started, when I got sober, I remember going on dates, and man, I am that person, and I think this is an ADHD thing, that I'm going to tell you my whole life history. I'm going to tell you every single thing, every detail, and we're going to like talk about everything on the first date. Like I have to explain myself, right? And what I realized over the time, because I scared away some really good guys, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm an alcoholic, and oh my gosh, I used to love cocaine, and like now I don't, and guess what? I don't have a license right now, and I'm 28 years old. Like I would just put it all
I
out
love
there,
you,
right?
Val.
Seriously, I was like, and my mom drove me to the grocery store because I don't have a license. Oh yeah, I'm 29, but like whatever, like I would throw it all out there. And the crazy thing is, like, what I've learned, and I hope that everyone will learn this too, that like we don't have to explain ourselves. We don't have to explain ourselves to anyone, because here's the thing that I know is true for me, and I don't know if this is true for you guys. I'm just going to share from my experience that I spent way too damn much time being a freaking chameleon, where I would meet 20 people in a day and I would be 20 different people because I had no idea who I was. I was so worried about making sure that that person sitting across from me at the table or the coffee shop or the dinner table, whatever it was, would like me, that I would take on traits that I thought they wanted me to be. And then I felt inauthentic. And then I felt like I had to explain myself, or, like make sure you understood why I'm the way I am or whatever. But you know what I've realized today is like, I am who I am. The Val Nichols I am today, like I've invented this woman through intention and through knowing my value, that I'm here. Here's what I have to offer. I know I have a lot to offer people. And if you're a cool human being, what was it? Meat sack, meat,
Mushy,
squishy
mushy
meat,
meat sack. And then I have something to say when
mushy,
you're
mushy
done.
meat sack. If your mushy, mushy meat sack is cool, like I'm going to spend more time checking in with myself. This is what I learned to do on dates or with friendships, because I pick my friendships poorly too. I definitely did for a long time. And so I check in with myself and say, okay, is this the type of person? Do I feel good? Do I have a good feeling when I'm with you? And is this someone that I'm willing, yeah, I'll spend an hour with you. And I get curious about, am I willing to spend another hour? If I do, cool. Date number 2, friendship date number 2, whatever that is. But, you know, knowing our own value and knowing enough that like we don't have to explain ourselves, because believe me, behind that, behind the meat suit and behind the brain, behind everything that's going on, that person has insecurities and they've got stuff too, you know? And so that's a big lesson that I've learned, that, you know, like I don't have to explain myself. I just get to show up as me, and people who see that value, a friendship, you know, a family member. I mean, I've had to cut ties with family members, you know, whoever, relationships, like if they don't see that value, who cares? You know, like that's a them. I'm going to quote Summer here. That's a them problem, not a you problem. So I hope
Exactly.
Love
you
And
picked
that.
up.
just
Yes,
Guys,
real
so
quick,
true.
can I
we
jump in and add like some
could
stuff I wrote on this topic of oversharing?
can
Yes.
I just want to, because I gotta run back. I just want to say one thing
Oh,
real quick, if that's okay.
Go
yes.
Yeah,
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I'd love
That
for the mods to speak.
the reason that um my wife loves me, and the reason that she is so excited that we are together, is because I accept all of her. Okay? And the thing is even neurotypical people have parts of themselves that are not accepted. And it's hard because we have not, like, I used to be wicked judgy to other people, right? Because I was so used to being judged myself and judging myself, right? But when I started accepting myself, I started being able to accept other people for all of their bits. And when you can put that out and be like, I see and accept all of you, even if they seem like quote unquote normal, no one's normal. There is no normal. It's a myth, right? There's different kinds of abnormal, but everyone is some kind of abnormal, right? Because I can see and accept all of her, that allowed her to see and accept all of me. So I also put that on, like, practice practice like seeing the parts of other people where you're like, I don't know about that, and then being like, all right, they're a full human having a full human experience. And I'm sorry to cut you off, Gigi. I just have to run back, but I wanted to get that out. Thanks.
Thank
My
you,
name's Kristen.
Chris. Thank you. That
We
was
love
awesome.
you.
We love
Guys,
you. Hi.
I will have to switch the apps to read, but I just want you, instead of flashing your mics, just, you know, use any noise or snapping if you agree to something I say, because I won't be able to see the mics flashing. So actually, I wrote a few things about oversharing. So like the first one that I wanted to share says the following. Trying to find it. Give me a moment. Okay, it says, you have nothing to be ashamed of to disclose, like you're in a fucking confession room. So what I mean by that necessarily is that when you're oversharing, you're in a sense ashamed of the thing, and you are trying to prove you're not. You know what I mean? But if you feel comfortable with it, you wouldn't feel that need to talk about it the entire time. And there's this thing that I found on Quora about oversharing. Somebody gave this answer to a certain question, and he said, you may think that relationships should be built on absolute truth. They are in some sense, but absolute truth does not mean full disclosure. It just means that what you disclose must be true. You need not disclose everything about yourself, your experiences, etc. Though one is often tempted to just see if the relationship is strong enough to take the burden of our full personalities with all their flaws. And with most people, except those who are extremely highly intellectual and emotionally developed, you should not even think of trying this out, sharing the whole burden of your personality with them. So yeah, that was an amazing thing that I have read. And I also wrote like something that says like reasons me or you could be oversharing. I wrote, it is something I'm guilty of. It is something that causes a great deal of embarrassment and awkwardness on a daily basis. In this post, I compiled a bunch of reasons I could be oversharing, and I hope it could be of benefit to you. Quiet burnout. Many of us trauma survivors did not have safe people. We couldn't go tell our parents about our abuse. Chances are they were abusers themselves. Perhaps they shut us down, so we kept it in. We locked our feelings inside. We just went to bed at night and cried in our pillows. We kept our mouths shut for years, and finally we are speaking with all the resources and support available to us. The energy is being released, so it is a bit of an explosion here. I call this quiet burnout. We essentially have been quiet for so long that we are burned out and overcompensating. Our attachment style. If our attachment style is insecure, we tend to overseek proximity. We do that by frantic efforts to bond and attach while trying to hide. We are fearful and afraid of abandonment. We try to do the work for two and overshare. We might have been avoidant, and recent trauma changed that to another attachment style that is more vulnerable without the tough upfront of the avoidant. Autism. If you're on the spectrum, you find it hard to pick up on social cues. You find it hard to know when you have said too much. You find it difficult to know when you have said something too soon in the relationship.
Did we lose you, or is that
Did we
me?
lose
I
you?
think she mic'd herself. Gigi at the mic.
Hello?
No,
Gigi.
Gigi, you mic'd
Wait,
yourself.
all right. Where did you hear? Till when?
You mentioned
Autism.
autism.
Yes. Okay.
Autism.
So, autism. If you're on the spectrum or neurodivergent, you find it hard to pick up on social cues. You find it hard to know when you have said too much. You find it difficult to know when you have said something too soon in the relationship. You find yourself a bit too spontaneous to think before speaking. You find it draining to abide to the unwritten social rules, even if you know them by heart. It is easier to not filter yourself. Lack of boundaries. It is a common problem whether you suffer from mental disorders or not. We have not been taught about vulnerability. We have not been taught how to protect our space. We have not learned that our space is sacred and not everyone should enter it. But especially if you have been traumatized, your boundaries are either too rigid or too porous. Oversharers have porous boundaries. Openness encouraged by mental health movements. We have been silenced for so long because of the stigma around mental health. We have not been getting medical intervention when we were dying inside. We were bullied for being different. When End the Stigma movement and similar ones came out, they encouraged a healthy sense of openness about mental health struggles. However, this constant, unfiltered openness makes us unable to think or talk about anything else. We seem to be going to an extreme. We should be able to reach a healthy balance where we do not feel ashamed about our mental health, but at the same time we do not feel obliged to bring it up all the time to prove we're not ashamed. Fear of being boring or uninteresting. We fear the silence. In fact, we dread it. We are so afraid of what the person is going to think of us. So we fill the silence slots up, even if it means betraying ourselves. It goes back to our abandonment wounds, rejection-sensitive dysphoria, toxic shame, being the entertainer of the dysfunctional house, and the phone trauma response, which involves us trying to please other people. Honesty and frankness. According to an answer on Quora, we may think that relationships should be built on absolute truth, and it is. However, absolute truth does not mean full disclosure. We have to understand that we need to not disclose everything about ourselves and our experiences. The need for validation. We have been gaslit. We have not been believed about our abuser experiences. We desperately need people to validate that we are not crazy and that it indeed happened and that maybe we did not deserve it and that we are enough. I don't know if I added anything else. Yep. That's
That was
all for now.
Thank
amazing.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much, Gigi. That was awesome. Thanks for feeling safe enough to share it. I know that it sounds like you have experienced some trauma and some abuse in your life, and you're a warrior, you're a survivor, and you have so many strengths. It sounds like that are really helping you to thrive, and we appreciate you so much for sharing that with us.
Oh no.
Thank you.
Do we lose Sarah?
I was going to ask Karina, can't speak right now, but she back-channeled me what she wanted to share, if that's cool. In my husky voice.
It has to be in your
Absolutely.
husky voice.
Yeah,
Yes.
let me get my other voice out. This is my real voice, everybody. I've been faking it all along. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Okay, so this is Karina, the beautiful Karina Kai. So she said, okay, and I wish I had her beautiful accent. I'm not going to even pretend, but I could do accents. Okay, she said, my whole life before Matt, that's her boyfriend, I never actually liked my partners looking back. I just liked how much they liked the fake me. My wonderful mask persona that I put out. When I started to unmask around Matt bit by bit, I thought he would run, but I didn't care. I was ready to be myself, but I'm so lucky he didn't care at all. It was defo, the RSD kicking in, super strong. But by the time I met him, I was already more comfortable in myself and had kind of had the mask halfway. And then she put, feel free to share this if you want to. But her voice, she can't speak right now, but just wanted to share that. So I'm happy that Karina was able to share that with us because, yeah, she's an awesome person. Awesome. I meet the awesome young ladies here, and I'm just like, want to hug them all and be a mommy to all of them.
You are such a mommy.
I was going to say
Thank you,
real quick.
Karina.
Thank you, Karina. God, I was like trying not to cry when I was I'm a big crier. I was going to share, it's just, gosh, I always learn so much here. Yeah, so excuse my voice, had surgery with a cold on Tuesday. Now I have an upper respiratory infection. So Chris has been awesome to mod Damon's room, so I've been able to save my voice for this room. But for me personally, and I'm happy Gray's here. I met Gray in another room. Hi, Anissa. I thought she unmiked. So I was always like called weird. Oh, you're so weird, by friends, by people like I didn't know, and I never took it wrong or whatever. I just like, okay, whatever, that's me. I'm weird because I was always felt different. But again, being the culture, being a girl, just it never came up, right? And I know I shared this before, but I always, like Val said, the chameleon, almost like you. Well, first of all, I would fall hard and fast every single time. And then when you start dating, it's like you kind of remind me of that movie with Julia Roberts, The Runaway Bride, when Richard Gere asks her, "How do you like your eggs?" She would always like the eggs. She always liked the eggs the way the boyfriend, her significant other, liked them, right? She never really. I'm not going to do a spoiler of the movie, but that's kind of how I was. And I met my husband, but I was always like, the guys that were quote unquote the right type for me, the safe guys, never they bored me. I was always like, I like the bad guys, the rebels, which made my parents go crazy. But and it got to a point though, I was with the guy, and he did try to, we were living together. He tried to raise his hand at me, and that's like when I walked away from that relationship. Because he was definitely emotionally, verbally abusive, but that's when I did that. And then after that's when I met my husband. So I met him actually later on in life. We have a child later on in life. So even though I've been with him a while, that makes me, if you do the math, that makes me, I could be moms to probably almost everybody here. But so in my son's journey through ADHD, autism, and generalized anxiety disorder, it happens to a lot of parents. I started realizing, oh, wow, this is like looking in a mirror. I saw a lot of similarities. I've seen therapists on and off. I had issues as a kid with, anxiety, anxiety, depression. But it was always like an overachiever. And as like the oldest child, I think that was sort of put on me. And as the girl, the oldest girl, I feel like I always had to just do well. Then I went through the rebellious years. When I met my husband, though, again, the same thing. Okay, this is cool. You can introduce me to this. Let's do this. But it turned out he was a nice guy. And he's totally neurotypical. And we had, when we found out about our son's neurodiversity, he's very private, Summer, also like Summer's husband. So he really just is like, it was almost like a denial, where I'm more of like, well, if this is it and he's comfortable with it, then that's how it should be. And I'm like an advocate. I have a brother who's deaf, so like I was kind of raised on advocacy. So that for me wasn't an issue, but it is difficult, I will say, trying to manage a relationship when it's weird. Like now that I'm realized, okay, this is me, but I'm in a long-term relationship. But if I were to be if I was to be dating now, I think I'd be a totally different person in the sense that I wouldn't be so. Let's just say I'd be more experimental. But and there I go oversharing. But that being said, I was always very like monogamous. I didn't I would date one person at a time kind of thing. But on the inside, I was different, I think. I'm very open-minded. I'm not, I think sometimes the way I appear is sort of deceptive. Not that I'm trying to do it, but a lot of people think I'm a certain way. And I'm not. Sometimes I'm actually quite the opposite of what people think about me. So I think now if I was dating, I don't know. I think to touch upon what Gigi and Gray were saying, you have to I could never do this with friends even, because honestly, relationships are relationships, whether it's a friendship or, intimate relationship. I still get ghosted. I totally still get ghosted by people here on Clubhouse. Have no clue why. Okay. Maybe I come on too strong, or maybe, I don't know what it is, but I tend to be very trusting, and I tend to be very, let me let you in my inner circle, and let me invite you to all the cool places and to all the cool people I know. And then you turn around and leave. Not you, but, the person. And then I'm left kind of confused. And I still continue to do this, not just literally in real life. No filter. I'm very welcoming. And so do I get hurt? Yes. Am I confused? Totally. I'm learning from other friends not just here, but also I don't want to say in real life. This is real life, but I'm learning from neurotypical friends and neurodiverse friends that I need to, excuse me, reel it back in. Maybe think before I speak, not wear my heart on my sleeve. Sorry, but that's just me. So it's hard to not be me when I'm so genuinely me. So that's kind of my experience.
I
Just a
love
question. I
you.
know I love you, Belinda. So I'm thinking, as like the coach in me is thinking, why do you feel like you have to change? Like, is it necessary to change or to be you? Like a genuine question. You
Yeah.
don't have to
No,
answer.
no, I'll answer. That's the thing. It's like, I want to be me. Like, I literally, now I was asking Gray in the back channel. Gray, I've not been formally diagnosed, but I think it's clear to hear and everybody else that I've got like things going on. Not, I don't mean things going on, but yeah, ADHD, yeah, anxiety, yeah, depression. I mean, some autistic rates, but I'm not sure about that 100%. But I have some questionable stuff when I was a kid. So, no, I'm more like, let's be ourselves, you know. And if people don't like me the way I am, or have been for the past almost 50 years, you know, 2 tears in a bucket, motherfuck it. I mean, that's like Lady Shubley said that in the Clint Eastwood movie, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, right? And I actually went to go see her perform, and she was out of town, and then sadly she passed away. Just beautiful drag queen. But anyways, I digress. So no, this is what I'm trying to teach my son. But Summer, this is where the part that sometimes, I don't want to say kills me, but I find it difficult because my neurotypical husband, who is private, you know, is very, okay, let's just not, we don't have to say you're anybody, our son is, you know, neurodiverse. And I'm like, well, why not? Like, what's the problem with that? What's wrong with that? You know, not that I'm making it a labor or living it, but I look at it more as advocacy. So if one day he wants to write a book or be a speaker, I'm like right there to support him 100%. I know my husband will in his own way, but I guess my husband's more of like, is afraid that his son will be bullied or judged. And it goes to me also, how I represent myself. You know, it's almost like, well, if you wear that, people are gonna think you're this, which is total BS, because that doesn't give anybody the right to do anything to your body. But I think that answered your question. I,
I
I'm just trying to be myself, and that's it. If people can't stand
Yeah,
it, then they can't, you know?
I think.
absolutely. Oh, go ahead,
Sorry.
Gray.
No, no, I was just gonna say I think you should definitely continue to be you. I find that same problem. I find that, you know, my attachment style is different from others, and that, you know, I form really good relationships really quickly. I'm very perceptive of the people around me. I think being, you know, having experienced bullying like many of us did, and other things like just, you know, rejection. I think it made me, you know, for me, it made me more aware and more sensitive of others, how they're receiving me. You know, fortunately, I'm not autistic, so I feel like I have a heightened awareness of, you know, people's reactions and responses to me. So, you know, I used to be overly sensitive to it. Now I'm just sort of like, because I've depersonalized it, I've learned to depersonalize it. I just am able to see, okay, this person seems to receive me, this person doesn't. And I'm aware of, like, I don't know, certain connections. Like, I'm like, okay, well, I have a lot in common with this person. And so once I've established that, which, like I said, for me, I established it pretty quickly. I'm like, I'm all in. I'm like, whatever, you know, I let my guard down. And I find that even in the event that I was right, my judgment was right, where, you know, that person and I did click, or do click, um, that person might not be as trusting of their own judgment and of that situation, and so they might pull back a little bit, like, oh, you know, this is a bit much too soon, because for some reason we have this narrative, and, you know, that you know, relationships take a certain incubation period, and, you know, if it's too fast, you know, too soon, like, you know, something's wrong. Like, I don't know, we have a lot of these preconceived, like, notions about how things are supposed to go, and just everyone's life is so different, and everyone is so different. It's like, it's kind of ridiculous that we have these sorts of things, you know.
I mean, everyone's
I
life is so different, but also, like, look, as someone that hotwired connection most of my life, Like, I get it, but also that you actually, it does, it's annoying, but it does take time to get to know people because there's more than just info dumping to getting to know people, or trauma swapping or whatever, right? There's this thing Brene Brown talks about called floodlighting, right? You can put a floodlight on something and it lights it up. It lights it up real good, but it kind of gets people to wince because there is a progression to healthy connection, which is like not, that does take time because you have to not only get to know the words the other people are saying, but also the body language and the different tones and how they are in different situations.
Opening
That
up bit by
actually
bit,
takes
No,
basically.
time.
I agree, but
Yeah.
I literally I process that information really quickly is what I'm saying. Like I'm aware of body language. I'm aware of like all of those things and I process it I think abnormally quickly. And I've always like when I say like all the relationships the very strong relationships that I have established, we're still friends to this day. Like once that person, it's usually on that other person to sort of get over like their fear, like, oh, like I don't know why I like you so much. But once they sort of get, or like so soon, once they get over that, they're like, wow, this is, it does take more of a natural sort of thing. Um, but I'm really good at that. Like I'm hypersensitive to those things. I ask the right questions and listen, sometimes without even asking questions, listen to the answers to determine compatibility very quickly. Like
Right,
I
but
like
you can't have access to them in all kinds of different situations in a week. You just, it's not
no, I didn't
physically
say
possible, right?
yeah,
So
it's
that's what I'm saying.
relative.
Like, there's, yeah, no, it's definitely, but look, I'm the same way. I'm like you, like you, like you, fuck you, like you, like you, like you, fuck you, and I'll know that in like a minute, right? And then I will cultivate the relationships with the people that I get on with, and I get that, but also like it's something that I've had to learn as someone with ADHD. I feel very similar. Like, look, like you're speaking my language. I'm not telling you I get it. I
Yeah,
get it.
I get what
But
you're
as far
like you
as
said,
like,
boundaries. Access to that person, like that takes time. And I agree. There's certain boundaries that we all have. And that's something that I've learned to respect. And that's sort of where I was trying to go with it in response to Belinda. Continue to be you. I feel like you are like me in that sense that you're able to identify very quickly when you mesh with the person or when you have things in common. But I want to say it's not you. It's typically that person not necessarily trusting their own intuition or not having that same sort of intuition, and or maybe having having that wall up or those boundaries up so high that they're not as receptive to that connection. Like, you guys have been very warm and welcoming to me and I'm like, wow, there's part of me that's like, I don't trust this because it's happening too soon. They're too accepting, they're too kind for people on Clubhouse because people on Clubhouse are usually assholes. But I'm like, no, like these people are like me and we connect. So I don't know. That's sort of what I'm saying. Like, don't personalize it. If you can depersonalize it a little bit, I feel like you're gonna continue to be able to be you. I think that's to protect yourself. Do not take it personally if someone does not seem to reciprocate, because as Chris just said, like it has to do with you having access to them and in a sense having to develop that and just respect that person's boundaries or their trust issues or whatever they have. I'm not demonizing it because it's normal, but literally, like I think that's where you're going with it. But
Yeah.
yeah, don't feel the
all
need to
right.
change and don't be
I
that
love
person
it.
with high
What I'm
boundaries just
Oh,
because.
trying to say though is you get boundaries too. Like that, even though, like, I
Chris.
know we're not good at boundaries, but like we are also able to have boundaries.
okay. So I
All
just
right.
wanted to thank Grace so much for saying that. Those are some really really good points that you were making because I don't know. It feels like sometimes it's not okay to be ourselves and we do the masking thing. And I think it is important just to recognize, as we get older, like we get to know ourselves a little bit more and we become more connected with what we want. I totally understand what you're saying, Gray. I was laughing because I literally feel that same way when I get in. I made friends so easily growing up. I literally was your best friend in like 10 minutes, and everyone was my best friend. And I made a lot of people really uncomfortable. I didn't know this till I was older, but it's just because I would tell you my entire story. You knew my life, and Brene Brown also says not everyone deserves to hear your story, and so I've really kept that with me throughout my life, as I've gotten to know new people, different people, lived all over the place, and just knowing that not everyone does deserve that story, and that if I don't have to share, because sometimes I don't know, like, we're trying to justify ourselves. So in order to do that, we have to like go through this long process. They have to know who we are. And then I wanted to speak to what Belinda was saying real quick. So, Belinda and I have so much in common. Our husbands are like the same people. Our dogs are the same. We have like, there's a bunch of other things I can't remember. But anyways, so one thing that I know, and this is applicable for anyone who is in a relationship, whether dating, married, or long-term relationship, whatever it is, this is applicable for everyone. So one thing that really helped me in my own marriage, and I've shared this before, my husband and I really struggled during COVID because I was worried about my teenagers. I have three teenagers, 14, 16, and 18. And I was worried about their mental health, but he's a doctor. So he was worried about their physical health. And so I just wanted them to be able to leave the house, and he didn't. So we had these, I mean, it was intense. And so at one point I was like, okay, I need this from you. Like, what do you need from me? So I told him, well, it didn't really change. He didn't really give me what I needed, which is fine. But then I got to the point where I was like, you know what? You can feel however you want to feel, and so can I. He's accepted me and loved me and been with me through all of my depression, anxiety, ADHD. I have epilepsy as well. And so he's been through everything with me. And so I always think to myself, okay, how can I expect him to allow me, um, or how can he let me feel the way that I'm feeling, but me say, nope, you got to be like me. You can't be an introvert. You have to talk. You have to tell me. So one thing that really helped me is to recognize that I don't have to change the way he feels. So Belinda, like you were saying, for example, like you don't think that, that he is open, or that he'll ever feel comfortable maybe talking about like the autism thing. And, the first thing I thought was like, if, in my situations, it's okay for him to feel that way, and to me, and for me not to, and to be okay with it. Like I always thought before, like I have to soothe him. Like I was like, okay, it's okay. Okay, I can understand how you feel, blah, blah, blah. Like always trying to make sure that he felt okay about it. And now I'm learning that I'm sorry you feel like that. That really does suck. Not in a condescending way, but just saying, I know you feel like that, and I just don't feel like that. And it's okay for you to feel differently and still coexist in the same space. So, like, it's just like in our world today, like, people are literally hating each other because of being vaccinated, not vaccinated. I know families that don't talk to each other anymore in our community. But the thing is, we can all have our opinions. This is a world where we can all have our opinions and feel the way we want to feel, and still coexist and still be respectful and love each other. And it's the same way in every relationship. We are meant to be our own people, and to learn and love and thrive in all different ways. So I don't know, Belinda, when I stopped trying to make sure that like he was okay, I still do that all the time. Like, are you okay? Is that okay? Because he's an introvert. Um, and I stopped trying to make him understand and feel like, sometimes people just aren't going to understand, and it's okay. It's okay for us to feel differently. So that, I mean, and that's applicable for everyone in any situation, any relationship, I think. So just being unattached, to their idea, and it be okay for them to feel like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I just have to
Agreeing to
May
chime
I
disagree.
in.
ask
Go
you a
ahead, Sarah.
question, Summer?
yes, Hilda.
I just have to chime in, Summer. That this is Sarah, everybody.
Hey.
I'm the non ADHD person. I feel like it's helpful to just sort of be like, okay, here's where I stand. FYI,
Yes.
my husband has ADHD. My daughter is 7 and was just diagnosed right before her 7th birthday, and like just really thanks to all of the knowledge I gained on this app, I started figuring that out. But anyway, I had to just chime in, Summer, because so much of what I've been thinking about lately and talking about a lot is about boundaries, which I think we talked about in the room the other day too, talking about a very different type, but boundaries around like, okay, what am I taking on for me, what do I need? And then what am I taking on because it's somebody else's need? And I think that's what you're speaking to there. And I just wanted to chime in because it's so important when I think that's a huge realization that I've had too, where it's like, what am I doing just kind of falling all over myself to make sure that like my husband is okay with uh what what I'm thinking, or and just sort of not that exactly maybe, but some version of it, but just to sort of say like, hold on, what do I need? And it's okay that we're at a different place. So um it's so many ways it comes back to that. Like, I think that can be relevant to so many of the different conversations and really, really wonderful, beautiful stories that everybody's been telling today and sharing. It can come back to that again and again of like, what do I need to make sure that I'm taking care of my needs? Is that sharing? Is that not sharing? Is that being okay with just disagreeing and moving on? And so I think that also comes back to the communication of neurotypical and neurodivergent, and like trying to speaking different languages and learning how to speak to one another in a way that's successful. I think that same thing, you can start to figure out like, well, what do I need, what is important for me to figure out here. So yeah, a lot to talk about.
And that's sort of what I was saying in my response to you, Chris. Like, I get it, like you, and I completely agree with you 100% that I also need to exercise boundaries. But what I learned is that part of my boundaries are just the emotional boundaries, not being as attached to something like you said. Just because I know, okay, me and this person, we gel, we're really really compatible, and I can see that because I've observed it. And I've listened more than anything. It's not just that they heard me and they understand me, but I understand them. um, but it's that fear that often they have, similar to that fear that I think, who is it, Belinda's husband might have about disclosing so much information about their son and things like that. Like, for me, I'm comfortable with myself. I'm comfortable with saying, hey, I have ADHD. I take Adderall. Like, I'm so comfortable sharing things about my past, and I don't do a dump like in the beginning. I'll share throughout over time, and I've learned to do that. That's also boundaries. But it's not something that I'm like emotionally so attached to because I've owned it and it's a part of who I am. And if that person feels overwhelmed or feels like, oh my man, like this is too much too soon, that's okay, because for me, I have to come representing my full self. But what I've learned though with those boundaries is that sometimes when you are more comfortable and you have less boundaries, just because you literally have owned your identity and who you are, and you're like, I don't care what you know or think you know, or if you judge me. Sometimes people, and this is what I've recently been sort of dealing with, sometimes people feel the need or like they feel like they can validate it and disrespecting you. They feel like, obviously, if you're sharing this really sensitive information with me, you don't respect yourself, you don't have any boundaries, or you have low self-esteem, when it could be the very opposite, that maybe you are so confident and comfortable in your own skin that you're like, hey, this is me. And they're not, that's not the norm. That's not typical for people to be so comfortable with things that are so vulnerable and so sensitive. But being in groups like this, spaces like this, putting myself in places where I was able to share and I was given a safe space, it gave me the audacity, it gave me the boldness to say, hey, this is who I am, and not feel like fear of being critiqued. And I find that's rare in this society. That's very rare. And because it's so rare, sometimes people, they do feel the need, like, oh, they feel validated if they have poor character, because it's a character flaw when you feel like you can disrespect a person because they've been vulnerable with you. But I found that where people literally, they lose respect. It's like, oh, he's got a disorder, he's what? And they literally disrespect you as a result of that, and they think that they've got something on you. And I'm like, no, you don't got anything on me that I haven't already owned. So that's the only thing that I was saying. And I find that there's an elite and very small group of people that can let me represent who I am
Yes,
and
absolutely. And
be
you know what?
vulnerable.
This is
Thank
that
you.
space. Thank you so much, Gray. I just want to bring awareness real quick. You guys, this is the ADHD Rise Room. We have 5 people on stage who have not had the opportunity to speak yet. And we have been going for like an hour and 15 minutes. So I do want to make sure that we're getting to everyone. I know we all have so much to say. You guys, we're ADHD. We love to talk. This is a very hot topic. And we have some people who've been very, very patient. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Jocelyn. Are you there? Jocelyn?
I'm here, but like in all honesty, I'm literally just getting out of like a really horrible relationship as of like literally this week Monday. So I'm just cool to just chill and listen because I don't really have any like burning questions except for the fact that I was talking to Ari and Laura last night and they made a connection that the person I was like dating was probably a narcissist and something about how like narcissists and bipolar people like kind of prey on ADHDers because like we're like hard, it's hard for us to like regulate our emotions and stuff like that. So I was that was brought to light to me last night. So I'm kind of just digesting that. But like again, like this is just So yeah, just I'm cool. I have no burning questions, but yeah, so
Thanks,
just here to listen and learn right
thanks for being here, Jocelyn.
We love
My
you.
comedic friend. If you have a funny joke, we want to hear it at the end.
now. Okay.
All right, Jonathan, how's it going? Jonathan, are you there? I know a couple of people had to leave. They were waiting. Hilda, are you there?
Hello. Yeah,
Hello,
this is
love.
Hilda. Thank you for having me here. I'm a mom of 6-year-old nonverbal, gorgeous son. And I had a question from Summer. When you were talking about the relationship and like it's okay to for them to feel differently and you don't have to keep telling them that like I'm understanding you and I'm feeling you. How about how can I solve it when someone is like really in denial still, and that someone is the father of the kids? So it is kind of impossible to manage it to keep it go in a like safe and happy way, to like ignoring the reality of my own child and his struggles. So I was like having really
I've been going through that myself, Hilda, just so you know. I'm happy to back channel with you about it because my son,
yes, please.
yes, I'll connect with you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, and I'll follow you so we can back channel. Real quick, okay, I had a question. If someone in the London area, someone in the audience wanted to know if they could help with referrals for autism, as the individual isn't ready to do it by themselves. So if someone knows of a referral in London for an autism referral, autism assessment, please back channel Belinda. Oh, it doesn't have to be London. Okay. I don't know if it's the U.S., but I don't know. I guess if somebody has some referrals, back channel me. That's what if they can, I guess, emotionally support someone with the process. Okay, because it's kind of happening as I'm reading it. Back channel Belinda. Yes, okay. Did that make any sense? I hope it did, but someone does need, or that person can back channel me even, because someone's asking on behalf of somebody in the audience is what's happening. So if someone has
Yeah, that would
information.
also, too, I just want to say we have what is that called? A thread going with the in the ADHD Rise Facebook group
Oh,
of
good idea.
resources. And I
Yeah.
know that like Carly is in there and she might have a really great resource because she is she's kind of the one in that space. So maybe
Yeah.
asking Carly or Brian, who's
Belinda.
not in here, Brian with the yellow circle. He's
Yeah.
an amazing resource for autism as
And in
well.
the
So I
U.S.
definitely
also, Agatha Wallen here in the U.S., and I can help as much as possible. But Hilda, yeah, totally get that. I've been living that specific situation. And I was just going to say with Gray, when we were talking earlier, real quick, sometimes people, I think sometimes neurodiverse individuals, neurotypical too, but I'll say neurodiverse, there seems to be sort of like a innocence in the sense that the filters aren't there, and we think people mean well because we mean well. But when I was saying about what I was going through, yes, I have been used for money. I have been used for resources. I've been ridiculed about making with Evie and Josh an ADHD book club. Not them ridiculed, but me personally. And turn around, that person has started their own. So it's just like all these things, sometimes, yeah, we're not going to be everybody's flavor, but that's not going to mean I've always been myself, even though I was called weird, but when I was little, it never really bothered me. I kind of wore that as like weird is cool. And now all of a sudden I'm meeting all the cool people. You know what I'm saying?
So
We are
good.
the
But
cool
Jealous
people.
of you.
right?
I
And it
had something
starts
for
with my
Gray as
son.
well, which about like self-esteem. So made me for myself. I was like really happy with the person that I had, and I worked in it. But when you're in a like an environment that you're getting like keep receiving those negative energy, and like it affects, you start to feel that I don't have that self-confidence anymore.
Well, Hilda, I have some thoughts for you, and I will message you if that's okay. But thank you so much for sharing that because I, it is really hard to coexist, I guess you could call it, with those that we have different thoughts on, and my if you were to take away anything from this conversation, I would say just recognize that it, it's difficult, but we can't change the way people feel. We can only accept them and be our own influence, because as soon as I let go of trying to help my kids, especially, like, see things the way that I see them, it became more peaceful in my heart and my mind, because what do you do? There isn't anything that any of us can do to really change um anyone. We can influence and be by their side. So I just wanted to, like, put that out there, but I will message you because I do have some thoughts for you, especially for that. So thank you so much, Hilda. Let's move on to Priscilla. Hi, Priscilla, how are you?
Hello, hello. I'm doing great. Today is a good day, and I think sometimes you have to pause and think, if this is your good day, um, just celebrate it. And we all have our bad days too, but today's a good day for me. So I'm bringing love and support and encouragement to everybody here. I'm 43 years old. I was diagnosed with ADHD and OCD during the pandemic. And my daughter is 10 years old. She was just diagnosed with ADHD as well. And my son is 14 and he's been diagnosed with depression and anxiety. My poor husband is neurotypical, has none of these issues. And so we have quite the zoo here. Even my pet is on anxiety medicine. So, um, this conversation is about relationships, and I just want to encourage everybody that, has relationships with people who are neurotypical or just has other issues like the OCD, ADHD, depression, anxiety. Just communication with people who love you is so, so crucial to get through every single day and deal with all of these issues. And people talking about this and all of these issues openly is literally life-saving. I can tell you that the first time I thought about attempting suicide, I was 8 years old. I was being very abused by my family in many ways. And if I had a place to go to that felt safe, where I could talk about what made me feel weird and what made me weird and not fit in with other people my age, and it's been a lifelong struggle, I can tell you I would not have suffered so much alone, because I thought I was alone, I was weird, I was an alien, I did not belong on this earth. And all of that led to thoughts of suicide. And I just want to thank you all for being so open and honest and communicating, because you could literally be saving lives and just helping people know that they're not alone. There's a place to go. There are people to talk to who understand. That's so, so huge. And so that's what I wanted to share today.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Beautiful, beautiful, amazing. I love that you shared your story. And I want to give a real quick adieu. Thank you so much to Sarah Lerner. You guys go click on her profile and follow this woman. Thank you to Chris Conley. You guys are the pillars in the ADHD relationship. Niche. I couldn't think of the word for a minute. You guys are the pillars. We love you so much. And I just want to give you all the praise, all the joy. Thank you for being here. I know you ladies need to hop off. So just want to say thank you so much. And where can people find you?
You're so amazing, Val. This has been great, and appreciate what you're doing this whole month. So many amazing conversations. I can't even believe it, because if this hour and a half, like, you've just been hours and hours. So, kudos to you two, Val and Summer. Yeah, you can click on my profile. There's a SJ Learner at on Instagram, on all the platforms. I'm SJ Learner, so I'm easy to find. Message me if you have any questions about anything, and I do 30-minute conversations lately, if anybody's interested in that. But more importantly, everybody, I just really appreciate you all, and I appreciate this community so much. So yeah, later. Thanks so much, Val.
Bye,
We love
Sarah.
you. Thank you,
Love
Sarah.
you.
Thank you,
And
Sarah.
Chris, where
Yeah,
can people find you?
I gotta jump, but distractedlove.com, Distracted Love Chris on Insta, and messaging me on Insta is probably the best way to get a hold of me. My name is Chris, and I am complete. Bye.
Thank you, Sarah.
Chris,
Bye.
bye.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Andrea, what's going on, beautiful?
Hey, friends. Uh, Tough week, tough couple of weeks. Um, Focus is relationships. Well, mine blew up, but not because of ADHD, although that had put a strain on it for the 6 years we were together. Um, my struggles with ADHD and with depression and anxiety got in the way. I know that much. I know it bothered her. Uh, and my newest relationship, I mentioned I'm ADHD a couple times, but I've sort of gotten a glazed look from her, so I don't know that she knows what that means yet. Gonna have to see how that develops, and even if it's a relationship, even more than friend. I mean, I guess friendships and relationships are. I mean, friendships are relationships. I guess relationship does cover not just romantic, but yeah, figuring out. Finding somebody who gets me on all the levels is a challenge. I've got talk about intersectionality. Got several uh, different planes of existence all coming together, and they make it tough. I mean, the fact of the matter is that while I have not been celibate my whole life, far from it, I have only been in one, what I'd call a long-term relationship, something that lasted over a few months. Everything else is short, or even very short. And it wasn't because of lack of interest on my part, but it just never clicked enough to want to keep going, or they decided that it wasn't clicking enough to want to keep going. So it just never, and I just always put it up to, circumstance and chance, because I did a lot of moving, I did a lot of traveling, all that stuff. But now looking back, after I've been more clear on the impact of my ADHD and my dyslexia and some of the avoidance stuff and the transness, all those things which I didn't know about in many cases, and some of them I did. But I think that there was something that I never found somebody who I connected with, and maybe that's because I wasn't connected with myself. I don't know. I know that I am attractive to some. as I am, at least initially. So I remain hopeful. I do get dates on occasion. I do get into little short-term things that don't seem to not work for the obvious reasons. They just seem to not work. But I remain hopeful because every few months or 6 months or year and a half, I meet somebody else and there's a connection for a while and there's joy for a while. And one of these times, one of these days, it's going to keep being joyful and we'll really make it work. I thought I had it. And then the transness came out and that just killed it. But now the trans is out in front, so at least that won't be the one that takes it down next time. Then I put the ADHD out there too, try to make it clear. Not an excuse, just a warning. Anyway, enough of my babbling. I'm Andrea, and I'm done talking.
I always love Andrea's shares because they're like so deep and meaningful to me personally. Andrea, you're heard, totally appreciated and so loved. And I hope your back feels better and just sending gentle hugs to your heart.
Love you, Andrea. You are such a catch. And oh my gosh, the person who ends up with you is going to be so lucky. They are going to get such an open, amazing, incredible, confident in who they are, showing up unapologetically like you get all of me and nothing less. And there's someone out there that deserves that. And there's someone out there that is ready for that and ready for you. So I'm excited to see your journey. And I know that, yeah, I've been that person, the hopeless romantic that's like, where is that person for me? Am I meant to be married? Maybe I'm just meant to be alone. Feeling that right now. And, like someone out there is still there waiting for you. They're praying for what you have to offer. And I know a lot of people out there that just want that emotional connection, not just the sex. They want that emotional connection. They want the intelligence. They want the, the feelings, the vulnerability. So you are going to make someone an amazing partner. And I know it's coming. We love you.
From your lips to the universe's ears.
Yes, manifesting it,
Yes,
baby.
yes.
Manifesting it. All right, Anissa. Hello, my love. How are
Hi, I'm doing well. Someone before me, I wasn't close to the computer, said they're having a good day, and I think I'm having a good day too today, which is, great at the end of this very long week. My brain wants to respond to every single person, but instead of doing that, I'm just gonna say a lot of what has been shared has been really validating, very similar to my experiences. And my question, so that I can stay on topic, is in terms of friendships. So there's a part of me, and I know it sounds funny, but when I want to socialize, when I get the urge to socialize, I want to go out and do something and have like at least one person with me, but like I don't want to socialize with them, which sounds so silly. Like I don't want them to be like talking the whole time. I just want to enjoy their company, and that's it. But realizing that people are not statues, and that's not how you socialize, and that a lot of people are uncomfortable with silence, and it takes a long time to get there to just enjoy that silence. So instead of doing that, I have a social kind of day planned out on tomorrow. Well, I want to like visit a few things, a few places in the cities. And so anyways, my question is, I'm really tempted to invite my friends to all of the things that I'm doing, but also I want to like honor my own boundaries. And I know that at the end of the day, if I do that, I'm going to feel very burned out. So my question, if I get to the question, is like, how do you go about planning out like kind of like a day of fun, or just like a lot of social events at one time, honoring yourself, your boundaries, knowing your limits, and then also just getting the full experience and letting other people also have fun, so that it's not just about you, if that makes sense. So like, what do you keep in mind when you do gatherings and stuff. Anyways, I'm done speaking. Thank you.
All right, sorry about that. I had to get to the right screen. So yeah, that is the number one question. Honestly, like this is totally still my default. I over plan, I over schedule, especially when, and I'm not going to say that this is what's happening for you, but I will just speak for myself. Like if I'm avoiding looking at something that might be uncomfortable, that's when I start to experience that internal conflict of, like, I don't know, maybe like the social situations don't feel so easeful, or, like, am I keeping my schedule really busy so that I don't have to look at something or avoid something? I mean, I just found myself in this last week, right? And, like, and then with having the friends come, like, if it feels peaceful for you, inviting them in, inviting them to all these things, then do it. And you know what I've really had to learn or chosen to learn through the process of, because you're never going to make everybody happy. The hard part about having so many friends, which a lot of ADHD people, we either have a lot of friends or we kind of isolate. And sometimes we're both, right? Like we go through that extreme, like, oh my gosh, I love everybody. And then it's like, don't talk to me. I'm done and I can't today. Right. So, when we go through that, it's a lot of, allowing people the information. Like if there's an event and you're trying to juggle it and get everyone involved and not everyone's going to agree on the same thing, a lot of times what I do is just say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Like, I would love for you to be there. If it's not your jam, like, that's totally okay. Text me and let me know a couple times you're available. Because out of sight, out of mind to an extreme for me and for most ADHD people, including friends. I mean, this gets me in trouble a lot with friends because they're like, I'm always the one reaching out. I'm always the one doing the effort. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I love you. And every time I see you, it's amazing. But I just forget to call or check in or text. And so, like allowing them that space where now it's in their court, like send me a text, let me know when you're available. That way now you have it in writing. So you can remember to go back and look at your text and schedule a time with them, separately. But if we're trying to overschedule, overcompensate, do all those things, a lot of times we just end up pleasing nobody, right? Like when we're trying to please everyone, we please no one. And so I think it's a lot of like checking in with self. Like I'm constantly checking in with myself and looking ahead in my calendar because I'm the person who used to always double book. And then I would feel so bad. And then I didn't want to cancel with anybody. So I would end up just like not showing up to anything or disappointing everyone. And that just reaffirmed to me that I was the type of person that wouldn't follow through on plans. So, I think it's a balance of, checking in with self, knowing when you need to have downtime. I know that's hard, but, scheduling that downtime as well. And then allowing the friends to come along that want to come along. And it looks like Karina.
She's on the phone. Val, this is Jocelyn, and like
Okay.
I really resonate with what you say because it's like I'm a Los Angeles native, and this girl who I befriended, I don't even know if she's my friend anymore because basically she kind of trapped me. Whatever, she's part of whatever. It was she will call me a flake or whatever, and I remember the first time she did that, it hurt really bad for some reason. I was like, God, why? And it's not like I haven't been called them before or whatever, but then now that I'm hearing you talk, I'm like, oh shit, that's probably why. Like I was so like bothered by her calling me a flake. Jocelyn.
Right. And you know what's so funny about that? I used to get so upset about things like that because it reaffirms the things I don't like about myself. I don't like that I ramble. I don't like that I forget things. And I don't like that I interrupt. I hate those things about me. And those are my biggest triggers because when people bring that up, it hurts. And so what I've learned to do is like when people are like, Val, you're such a flake, I'm like, oh my gosh, right? I totally am. Like next time, will you just text me and remind me? Because I'm not going to remember. You guys, I'll totally flake if you don't text me and let me know
Lean into it
or
and be
send me a calendar
honest.
invite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I play into it. Like if someone came up to me and they're like, oh my God, you're so stupid. I saw your Facebook. You made spelling errors and you were talking too fast and whatever. I'd be like, oh my gosh, that totally sounds like me. You're right. Isn't that funny? Like I would just play into it. Like that's kind of the shift in the confidence that I've taken from being in total and complete, like being derailed with RSD to being able to just be cool with who I am and walk in confidence of who I am is like any offense someone's going to throw at you, agree with them. And then what do they have? Right? They're disarmed. They go, oh,
Right.
you're fat. I'm like,
Because what
yeah.
I'm learning from my previous relationship that I'm trying to like, and I don't even know if it's a relationship because honestly, dude, like we him and I have been dating for like the last few months and like, but he didn't want to get together right away, which is fine by me, but like he didn't want to establish like exclusive, like serious committed relationship. And then all of a sudden, like him and we were fighting and he's like, I guess he had been calling me his girlfriend for the last few weeks. And I was like, well, when the fuck did that happen? Like, did we have a conversation that I forgot or missed out on? You know what I mean? And it's just like stuff like that where it's just like, what? Like, what's like, and again, just trying to like be in control of myself and stuff. Jocelyn.
Val, is
Yeah,
it okay if I chime in for a second?
absolutely.
What you guys were just talking about, I love that we're talking about friendships because uh, I don't know if anybody else has gone through this. Being late diagnosed, I was diagnosed at age 42. And so people who have known me my whole life are like, duh, Priscilla, of course you had ADHD. You
Yeah.
know, but it's been tough to be friends with people prior to my diagnosis that knew me because I feel like now when I'm trying to communicate with them and be friends with them and be more upfront like you are, Val, about, hey, can you text me because I'll forget and out of sight, out of mind, all that stuff. I feel like people in my life are finding me using this as an excuse. Like all of a sudden,
Yes.
oh,
That.
she got diagnosed. Yeah, all of a sudden, oh, she has ADHD now. So now she's going to blame all of her little things and all of her flakiness and all of her forgetfulness on this ADHD. And like, I feel like I'm losing friendships over this. I feel like I'm losing empathy and understanding because I'm not trying to lean on AD. I'm trying to tell people, look, this is why I did these things. Isn't that great that I know what was wrong with me? Am I
Right.
so
And they're
weird?
like, oh, now you know. Are you going to fix it? And it's like, fuck you. Sorry, Priscilla. I don't mean no offense. I'm just saying, like, yeah, like, it's awful because, yeah,
Exactly.
it can't be
Exactly.
like it's not a reason, it's your excuse. And it's like, what? Like, ugh. And I'm just so sorry because like that's just what's gonna happen. Like, and I feel the same way about you. I feel like a lot of my friends, like growing up, like up until maybe high school, like know me as to be like this hyperactive, undiagnosed like ADHD person. And they've, some have accepted, some haven't. And it's just once you find out and get diagnosed, all of a sudden they think it's going to be some like abrupt like turnaround and like all of a sudden, oh, now I know, so I can do something about it. And it's like, no, not necessarily. It's unfortunate. And like I used to think that I lost my friends because of like life changes, but then I think ultimately for me they just lost patience, and that's okay.
Can I just say real quick to this, Priscilla, and Jocelyn, this actually happened with me and my husband when he's like, oh yeah, you do have ADHD, huh? Because my therapist, I don't mean to make that voice for him because I always do make him sound like a surfer, but my therapist was like, yeah, we were going to couples therapy too. And he tried to do that. He literally tried to like, oh, it's the ADHD. I'm like, I kind of went off a little and I'm like, look, this is me 100% since I've been since birth. So don't be blaming the ADHD. It is totally something like you cannot, so I kind of, and I think if I have a friend and I end up, same thing happening. I mean, obviously I'm not divorcing my husband over this, but I said it, I don't want to say set him straight, but I stood up for myself in that and was like, you cannot blame a diagnosis on yada, 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 you know? So,
It,
and this is like with someone I've been with 20 years, it's known me for like, 20 years. And now all of a sudden you're, no, 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 no. So I sort of just, yeah, found my voice in that. And I think with friends, I mean, because right now I'm not really right now, like friends right now, it's like, because the quarantine and whatnot still here is kind of weird, but,
quarantine, pandemic, vaccine, like, yeah, friendships are just
yeah, you start when you become a mom, you get these mom friends because your work friends won't hang out with you anymore. It's like really strange for me, but that's what happened. And it's become a big group and they get smaller and smaller. And you're like, then you kind of see who are your true friends, no matter what. I know that the people that are in that circle, if I were to say, hey, by the way, I just got diagnosed, be like, yeah, and like it's no, but I think it's just not letting people use it. I'm not saying these are bad friends or anything like that, but I just think I don't know. I was really surprised when my husband threw that at me because I'm like, really? Can you just say it's something else instead of blaming a diagnosis, because I would never,
Or like
right? I would,
just it's not even like what you say a lot of times, it's like how you say it, you know what I mean? Like how you approach it. Like yeah, it could be the ADHD, but if it comes with this like condescending, sarcastic tone, you're gonna be like, okay, now I feel like you're just attacking me. You know what I mean? And like one more thing before I have to go because I'm at work, but I might try to like sneak some more time in, is that like I think it's so ironic that I, I've always prided myself on being this like alarmingly like kind of patient person. I think it's like the fourth thing in my on my Clubhouse bar, how I say patience is like the greatest virtue. And I think it's because of my ADHD that like I give people so much patience because like I'm just like I'm like focusing myself to like wait for them, and then and then it's again managing expectations. It's like I almost expect them to have the same patience for me, and then they lose patience with me because of my ADHD. So it's just a weird like irony of like social interactions situation for me. It's Jocelyn and chilling.
Thank you so much, guys. I need to hop off. My team is like gonna kill me right now. I have a training in like 45 minutes, and they are blowing my phone up and shooting me daggers right now. So I need to hop off. I'm doing a Instagram for business training at 12 p.m. Pacific. If you guys want to hop in, the link is in my bio in my Instagram. I would love for you guys to join. It's gonna be hot. It's gonna be amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the ADHD Rise event. We will be back at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time for Rise Up with Val and Summer. It'll be amazing. I love you guys. And with that, we will close down the room. Thank you, Belinda. Thank you, Summer. Thank you, everyone who waited so patiently on the stage, everyone who joined in and held space for us. We love you guys. And I will see you very soon. Bye.
bye, Val. Thank you and Summer for doing this. This is amazing. Thank you.
Absolutely.
You
Gosh, this was
ladies
such,
are wonderful. You're wonderful, amazing angels.
seriously, I could continue this conversation all day. Like this has been so amazing and so many juicy nuggets. And I love you guys, and we'll see you back at 1:30 p.m. Pacific. Bye.